Shout out to this friend of mine named Jason Boyd, right? We call him Pooh Bear. Now, he's written probably like 80% of Justin Bieber stuff, right?
Really?
Oh, yeah, and then a ton of other people. So he, I hadn't seen him in a while, but then when I saw him, like he was a healthy guy, and I saw him, I literally didn't recognize him. Like he wanted this whole thing, and I was like, and I'm sure we're going to touch on. He brought up some questions that I want to ask you, some things that he went on and things that he did.
Yeah.
Nothing surgical, no fad diet, nothing. Really, was a lot of discipline and water and all that stuff. So, but he looked amazing.
So back to what I was saying.
What's up, friends, family, and fans? Welcome to Life, where we listen and inspire friends in entertainment. Now, normally Johnny is here. He'll say everywhere, and then I'll say because life happens to everyone. But Johnny's in Vegas right now pulling his hair out. Yeah, he's a live event engineer, so he's having fun. So anyway, today I get to not be the best looking one on the podcast.
I don't know. I think you are. Yeah.
Yo, Kelly Springer, ladies and gentlemen, nutritionist, dietitian, all that kind of good stuff. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me in this amazing town of Atlanta.
Atlanta Traffica.
Yeah.
is what we're going to call it, where we stop and get Chick-fil-A when we're trying to make an appointment.
We might.
Inside joke. So look, I'm glad you made it. So can you just tell everyone a little bit about you and how you got started? And all that stuff? Yeah.
So interesting path. My dad's one of 12, and it's interesting because, and why I bring that up, my dad's youngest sister was a dietitian.
Okay.
And so I got to see how she used this degree in all areas. She was a professor. She worked with retail. She, all these different things. And I loved that. I love that you could go into all these areas and still use your degree.
Obviously, your dad was in great shape. 12 kids. You can't be in bad shape, Dad.
Pretty amazing. I don't know. I only had two.
You never had that conversation with him?
I don't know how that actually physically is possible. I'm glad I had one at a time and only two.
Right.
But nutrition plays a big role. And when I got into this field, I honestly thought I would use it as a stay-at-home mom. Isn't that interesting? I never thought I'd be a business owner or do this.
Because you want to make sure your kids ate well and all that stuff.
I did.
That's so needed
I
right now.
really, really did. And so you got to meet my daughter, Ellie.
I did. Mm-hmm.
Who is actually following my footsteps. She's going to be attending Ole Miss in the fall in nutrition.
Now, where'd you go to school?
West Virginia University.
WVU. Nice.
So it was the least expensive nutrition school, and I paid for myself. That's how that happened.
That day, money tends to make a lot of decisions for us.
Yeah.
That's
so
cool.
Got $5.
So you knew you kind of wanted to go into this from a way early. So it's not like there was another option before, or was there?
No. So I really got to see my aunt doing this. I was her nanny, and so really got to witness it. And I'm like, this is a really cool field. So I started basically, I think at the age of 15 when I could get my working papers. I was in the hospital pushing the tray carts, passing out menus, working on the line. And so I really did start in this from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And I feel fortunate that I knew my track, right? Like I knew what I really loved. And still to this day, I love what I do.
That's dope. I love it. So Kelly's Choice is the name of the company.
Yes.
All right. So what's the vision of what is it that you do with Kelly's Choice?
So Kelly's Choice came because I wanted to name it a dietitian's choice, a person's choice, a woman's choice, a everything choice. I was going through divorce at the time that we started the company. And I was the youngest of four. I have three older brothers. And I never had a choice to do anything, really.
Okay.
And so this was my kind of mark on the world. And so what I'm trying to do is move our profession forward. Okay. Dietitians in the past, working in clinical, in the hospitals, long-term care. We're not anymore. We're not behind the white coat anymore. We're on media. We're getting out there. We're doing private practice. We're working with retailers. We're influencing, food decisions that are big, right?
Huge.
So I want to show what we can do. And so now I employ 15 dietitians nationwide to share this message and to do it in a positive way.
Okay.
So no one's, whatever you choose to do, again, choice, it's your choice. So if you choose to have Chick-fil-A, if you
I get to have Chick-fil-A or be late, or I cannot have Chick-fil-A.
depending on what you choose, we can work with you. And I think that's the biggest thing, that nutrition's always been a black and white type of situation, or a right or wrong, or I'm good or I'm bad. No, that's where we've gone down the wrong path. And so I think just really educating on that level that anything can fit. It's just about education.
So many areas. I started to go there. I have to make sure I don't rabbit trail on this one. All right. So we knew that. All right. So, and you're saying you're getting the message out there. Like what
Yes.
So how does Kelly's Choice work? Is this something, an online program people can sign up for? Or is
So
it
glad
like, what
you
is
asked.
it? Yeah.
So there's 3 pillars of Kelly's Choice. The first one is dietitian services, and that is private practice. So you can go right on kellyschoice.org. You can book a private practice dietitian. There's expertise with certified diabetic educators, GI health. So we cover all those gamuts. So that's dietitian services, and it's great. I mean, that is your biggest return on investment. So if you just invest 1 hour of time with these dietitians, it will change your life.
Okay.
So I highly recommend anyone have a 1-to-1 with a dietitian.
Well,
And
invest 1 hour and then do what you learned in that hour.
yes, and then we
Right.
every single person that comes on gets access to an app that keeps you on for life. We never kick you off.
Okay.
So on there you can track food, you can track exercise, and there's a registered dietitian, not AI, as we learned about this morning.
Right.
A real person
Okay.
who is there to be your kind of cheerleader.
Is this a subscription or?
No, so if you sign on for your own private practice, you have that at
Nice.
no cost.
So it comes with it.
We are about population health. We want people to have access to this education and to
Right.
a registered dietitian, because we've been hard to find in the past. And so that's where a lot of people have kind of popped up and like, this is cheap and you can go this way and follow this
Right.
book and whatever.
Right.
So if we can get true research-based education to more people, that's my goal.
All right. So you said 3 pillars. So that was one.
Yes, that was one. Number 2 is our worksite wellness platform. So we push out to 250 companies nationwide, and the
wow.
majority of my businesses are here in Atlanta.
Get out of here.
Isn't that?
Any entertainment companies?
No, but there will be after today.
No. Well, the kind of need be. Shout out to this friend of mine named Jason Boyd. Right. We call him Pooh Bear. Now he's written probably like 80% of Justin Bieber stuff, right?
Really?
Oh, yeah, and then a ton of other people. So he, I hadn't seen him in a while, but then when I saw him, like he was a healthy guy, and I saw him, I literally didn't recognize him. Like he wanted this whole thing, and I was like, and I'm sure we're going to touch on. He brought up some questions that I want to ask you, some
Okay.
things that he went on and things that he did.
Yeah.
Nothing surgical, no
Right.
no fad diet, nothing. Really, there's a lot of discipline and water and all that stuff. So, but he looked amazing, and it just had me think about a lot of people in entertainment, especially engineers, because engineers, all they do is just sit at the desk. And if you're a working engineer, that's great because you're always working, but you're always sitting at the console, grabbing fast food when you can, and you just get bigger and bigger and bigger. And unfortunately, we've had a few people in the industry pass away from either heart diseases and things like that. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted you on here, so that my colleagues in entertainment can kind of get some more education. We actually had Liddell on before, so he broke some things down. But question, the difference, and we're going to get back to the third pillar, the difference between a dietitian and a nutritionist.
So
I use them interchangeably.
dietitian has so it's interesting because a dietitian can be called a nutritionist, but a nutritionist can't be called a dietitian. So there is a true medical difference. So we have to do 4 years of called a DPD program. It's all science based, biochemistry, organic chemistry, and all of our nutrition courses.
This is
all
the
of our
nutritionist.
labs. This is a diet. Well, yes, to be a nutritionist, you have to do those
courses.
But to be a dietitian, you have a specific course. And also, you can only get it from certain our universities. So you have to, it's called DPD.
Okay.
Then you go on and you have to do 2 years of master's. And then you go on to a year of an internship, or you go through long-term care, clinical, outpatient, community.
Oh, wow.
And so this is truly a 7-year medical degree. And then you sit for the RD exam, which is a national test.
Gotcha. All right. So the dietitian is way more education and science and
Yes.
knowledge behind it. I mean,
And-
shout out to nutritionists, but you know. What I'm
Yes.
saying. Yeah.
But the other big thing is that we have to have 75 continuing ed credits every 5 years. So someone asked me today, what about blood type? That's a question that came up. And I said, right now, I can only talk about the science that is real and out today. As a dietitian, it is all research based.
Right.
So I can only talk about the science we have today. So the science we have today does not clarify anything about blood type yet. In 5 years from now, it might.
Okay.
But right now, I, as a dietitian, I'm only allowed to stay in my scope. I can only talk about research-based science. So if that sets us apart a little bit, because I can only talk about that. I
Right.
can't just make up something
Sure,
or
sure.
say I believe in this diet or whatever. It has to be founded in science.
Do you think that education, and let's just call it Western education, do you feel that it's sufficient, and or do you feel it's a little biased, where our whole healthcare industry, you get it, the food industry, all this stuff, do you feel they have any and I literally don't know. So I may have an opinion on it, but it's totally guessing. Do they have an effect or any kind of impact on what you're taught in schools? Dietitians, nurses, doctors, all that stuff.
Well, the problem is still to this day, nutrition education is not being taught in school. So
Yeah.
I have my master's in health education. I'm a certified teacher. So
Right.
I actually
Okay.
have that degree as well.
Nice.
So my goal, I thought 20 years ago that I was going to be a part of a school district and push into classrooms and teach nutrition education. I was able to do that in my student teaching, and I was also able to do that for a pilot. The impact was so great, it blew my mind. 20 years later, my daughter, who's going into this, reaches out to her 4th grade teacher and says, Mrs. Ryan, can I teach like my mom came in and made smoothies? Can I do that? Mrs. Ryan says, Ellie, they have cut out all nutrition education in this building. Does that?
What is Kelly's opinion on that? I mean, let's go. Look. We can be conspiracy, whatever it is you want. I just want to know what goes through your brain when you hear that.
I just don't get how correlated when we're dealing with ADHD, we're dealing with,
Right.
problems in the classroom or mental health, all the mental health, right? Everyone's talking about mental health.
Right. That's the hot topic now.
It is 100% correlated with what you eat. Directly correlated with what you eat.
Yeah.
And the fact that this message has gone missing, it's gone missing.
I'm glad you said that. It's not like it was missing because it wasn't put in. It's gone missing, meaning it was taken out and blocked.
It's very, very strange.
Come on,
And
talk
so
to me. Why do you think that is?
So
if you had to guess, hypothesize, whatever.
I think that it's still a touchy subject. So a teacher telling a student what, even from our standards, right, of science, it's such a personal issue. So when that handout goes home to that parent, is that parent offended? Are they saying that you can't say this? I don't even know. I don't care anymore. My whole thing is we're paying so much money in tax dollars for healthcare. So much money. I work my ass off.
Right.
I wasn't going to swear.
No.
But I work
It's all
really,
good.
really, really hard. And I want to make sure that we are lowering those healthcare costs. We're doing everything we can to move in that direction. So why is it missing?
Well, all right. So I'm a be that guy, okay? Because I know you said it's touchy. I do the touchy stuff. You know what I mean? I do. I'm the one that makes the people feel uncomfortable and all that kind of stuff. So, like you said, it lowers healthcare costs.
Yes.
Personally, I feel that's part of the problem. I think that's part of the reason why we won't be as educated as we can, why the information won't be as made available as much as it can be. Because the moment, look, if we're healthy, come on, just make 70% of the country healthy. Big Pharma's out of here. They're delivering Amazon now or something like that. So that's a problem.
It's a problem.
It's a problem. So I always say the country needs you sick. They need you in debt.
It's sick care.
Essentially. So I don't want to tiptoe around the thing. I mean,
Well,
which makes it an uphill climb for someone like you.
I'm going in. So this is my year. I went to school in 97.
Okay.
It is now 2023. This is the year. This is the year, and I feel the shift. I feel the change. So when I'm talking to people now, they're like, we're ready for this. We're ready for the change. So it's gathering partners, gathering everyone together to be at the table. And I'm, back to Hamilton. Like, I want to be at the table.
Right.
I want to be at the table, and we haven't been. We've done a really bad job as dietitians in our academy and all of that. I'm not trying to knock anybody, but really bad in the way of leadership.
Yeah.
So, for instance, I was hired for Wegmans Food Markets.
Okay.
Back in the day. That was kind of like my jumping off moment. Great. I was hired for the employees because Danny Wegman found out he had high blood pressure. He's self-insured. We lowered healthcare claims. However, I wasn't under the dietitians at Wegmans. I was under some random lady who didn't understand what I do. Do you see how leadership hasn't been there?
Right.
So if we can gather around, if we can create this leadership and get ourselves to the table, I think we can actually make an impact.
On this level.
On this level.
Until we hit the
we've
politicians.
got to get nutrition education back in schools.
I agree.
Schools. And we need to put it into colleges, into work sites, and that's where we're trying to push that all in.
So we're going to go back to what I was saying before. What does that education look like? So to my question, do you feel Western education where health and science is concerned, how would you, if this is even something you've looked into, I don't know.
Yeah.
But where Eastern health mentality and science is concerned, how would you compare the two, if they can be compared at all?
So I've been lucky through different organizations. So through Syracuse University, I got to go to India right before COVID.
Okay.
And so I got to see the healthcare system over there. So to see the private hospitals, the public hospitals, the Ayurvedic hospitals, learning about, ancient types of medicine and how that works. So the problem is, even in those countries, all of our food has moved over there. So when we look at it's so sad, right? So when we look at the blue zones and all of that and like how that came to be, so India's population is on the same trajectory as America for heart disease, for diabetes because of our food.
Gotcha.
Again, goes back to food. So, but learning from Ayurvedic medicine, it was amazing of what they were talking about because like this whole intermittent fasting came up, right? And she, the Ayurvedic practitioner was like, we do need to stop eating when the sun goes down and start at that breaking the fast when the sun comes up, giving time in between meals, going more slowly. So a lot of these simple practices should be put into practice here in America. So I think the combination of both, I say we are very lucky that we do have insulin, right? We're very lucky that we have this modern medicine.
Sure.
However, how many people could actually change their diet, if they have type 2, not type 1, but changing their diet so they don't need those modern medicines. So we don't need that. So I recently just joined the American Heart Association board.
Okay.
So I'm on the board.
Okay.
And yesterday I'm at the meeting, 7:30 in the morning at the board meeting. And he says, our main priority for this year is CPR training.
Yeah, that's been on news a lot lately.
So, the NFL player and like all these different things, right? And people, okay. So I said, that's fine. We can actually put this training on our platform. However, why are people needing CPR?
Which is exactly what I was going to say. We're reactive.
Yes.
We're not proactive at all. We're very reactive.
And I don't think that they thought I was going to ask that question during the meeting. But they didn't really know. But I'm like, it's fine. We can put CPR training on there. And I do think that that's great because it could happen at any age and something weird could happen, right? But why are we having heart disease? Why are we not talking about nutrition?
Was the response?
It's just interesting because when I try to talk about it also, they're like, oh, are you self-promoting?
Oh, here we go.
And I'm like,
go.
It is my profession. Of course, because I believe in what I do.
And because I like to live. How about that?
And I don't want to perform CPR.
Promoting my life so I can be alive? Sure.
I was a lifeguard. I know what CPR is, and I hope in my lifetime I never have to perform it because it really is kind of disgusting.
That's actually a good point. No one really, because most of the time you see CPR is on television.
Yeah.
And rarely what's going on up here is that's actually a good point.
Like ribs breaking and things happening.
Oh,
like
wow.
no one really wants to do that.
It's not sexy.
So I'd rather prevent than get myself in that situation.
Right.
So, but that's where I just think we should be talking about why are we doing that, or why do we have these medications? I mean, I don't watch a ton of TV. I love like series and things, but it was on the other night. Every single commercial on some type of medication to lower your A1C, to lower your weight, so lower your cholesterol. These are all preventative and treatable diseases through nutrition.
Yep, I agree. Now, so we're talking about aging. That's like kind of our hub, what we're talking about here. And of course, I always say age backwards. Of course, you realize it's not aging backwards, right? It's just slowing down aging.
Unless you're
Benjamin Button. right. Or whoever this cat. I'm trying to keep my phone awake, which is why I look like I'm being rude because I should have done this before. But, or unless you like that guy, Brian Johnson, who's spending $2 million a year. Who has that, right? But so with this whole aging backwards thing, first of all, exactly what is aging? Like I know kind of like the sign. Someone asked me, I'll just be like, oh, it's your body breaking down. But I'm sure it's probably a little bit more than that.
So there's a lot that happens through the aging process. And the major thing is oxygen in general causes aging, right? So oxygen
causes aging.
Yeah, breathing. Yeah, I mean, so think about if you have copper and it's exposed to oxygen, turns right, there's a reaction.
Right.
So anything from chemicals to just truly breathing and cell development and all of that, we create these things called free radicals in our bodies.
Heard of those.
And so these free radicals, getting into super science,
let's do it. Let's get into it.
They're missing an electron. And so we create these free radicals from all different things, from stress, which we all have a little bit of. Some have more than others. We just went through a very stressful time. And so we can create these free radicals. Now, the problem with these free radicals is that they're trying to find the missing electron. They're trying to knock into cells, knock into things to find that missing electron.
Okay.
So that's where we get cell damage. That's where we spur cancer cells, diabetes. Like that's what's causing all that cell damage.
Okay. I learned a word.
Yes.
Not too long ago. I'm going to go ahead and say right now, I'm going to mispronounce it.
That's okay.
All right. Senescence. The street term, if you will, is zombie cells.
Okay.
Have you heard of that? So and that's something to do with what you're talking about. It's we decline in our biological functions, right? Essentially, what aging is, right? But there's a state called I'm gonna have to look this up while you're talking. It's senescence, but basically these zombie cells is when the cells, like you're saying, they start dying off, but they increase in numbers over years, and then they start actually overtaking the healthy cells. And hence we start going backwards where our functions. Does that sound about right? I got to find out what this word is.
So the cool thing is though, again, how nutrition affects all of this, affects aging, affects the cell development, is that when you eat foods that have antioxidants, the colors of the rainbow, the berries, the fruits, the vegetables,
right.
These foods give the free radical the missing electron.
Oh.
Did you know that?
Gotcha. No, I do now.
Antioxidant.
I feel like Sesame Street right now.
High five, we got it.
Blah, blah.
We got it. So this is where when dietitians say eat fruits and vegetables, they never go into the science. And so no one really does it. So our job is to break down that science, explain it to you that way.
So
and
I can say,
you're more likely to eat fruits and vegetables if you actually know
what's going on,
what they're doing to your body.
We do that which we understand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if I'm just preaching to you and it's you're not getting any relation to it. But now you can picture those cells. You can picture those fruits and vegetables coming in and actually neutralizing them. And then we take it down this little free radical train, and we need vitamin E, we need vitamin C. We need to take it down and get rid of them.
So I got pretty big. I think it was 232, right? And I was able to, before I injured my knee, I got all the way down to 208. But there's a guy, and I'm gonna go ahead and give him a free plug. All right, I'm not being paid for this, but Tony DeFleur, but then the Fit Father Project. These are two YouTube things. But they did exactly what you said. They were breaking down what supplements to take, what supplements not to take, and they explained what they did on a cellular level. And literally, when I was eating or taking my supplements, it was so cool that in my mind, I was able. I had this whole animation movie going on of what was going on, and I loved that. And it made me want to take it every day, and I became consistent. And you go, once consistency is in the house, then you're going to start seeing results. And sure enough, next thing you know, I'm 208. You know what I mean? So. Yep. The whole, what do you call they call the mind-body connection. Yes. The mind-body connection. So everything you're saying, I think, is absolutely right. Senescence was the word I was trying to think of. Senescence. And basically, it's the whole dying of the cells thing and stuff like that.
It's really interesting. So we're fortunate we get to work with a physiologist from Syracuse University who really takes the physiology and breaks it down for us so we can give it in layman's terms. Right. So that workplace wellness platform I was talking about, that has over 250 videos that break it down.
Oh, nice.
We break it down. So like, what is heart health? What is brain health? How do you build up digestive health? And taking that information in those little segments to make sense.
And what's the source of that video? Those videos?
So they're on our workplace wellness platform.
On Kelly's Choice?
On Kelly's
Yay! Choice. Yay! Home base.
But the whole thing is we need to educate. So just today, we were together, right, at an entrepreneur group, and a guy came in with oil.
Yes, the sesame seed.
Okay. And we asked all of them, all the people in the room, who's confused by this? Oil good, oil bad, oil this, oil that.
Right.
The whole audience confused.
Right.
That's the third pillar of our company. We take food products, break it down for the consumer of why you should have this or why you should. We don't really talk about what you shouldn't have because we try to always stay on the positive aspect. But why was that oil? What could I do as a dietitian to help that company move forward? Okay. So that's the third pillar. So we take that oil and say, this is sunflower oil. It's organic. It's from this little teeny farm. So you're not going to get preservatives. You're not going to get additives. You're not going to get any of that. Plus, it has a really high smoke point. So you could cook on higher temperatures.
That's the first time I've ever heard of smoke point.
Yeah.
Can you explain what smoke point is?
So no one knows about smoke point.
Yeah, I didn't.
So all different types of plant-based oils have different temperatures in which they will smoke. So you can have this unsaturated fat, which is good. It's good for heart health. It's good for absorbing vitamins A, D, E, and K, which are fat soluble. Like, that's great, okay? But when you heat it to a point where it smokes, it denatures those cells and actually turns it to a trans fat. So trans fats became a part of the American diet way back because they realized that if they could change these bonds, it became shelf stable because fats turn rancid. So if you're able to change the bonds and we put it into baked goods and crackers and this and that, we could make it more shelf stable. It becomes less rancid. However, they then realized over decades that it was directly correlated with heart disease because of the change in the molecular makeup, they're sticky and they get stuck inside. So if things are getting stuck, that causes inflammation, that causes blockages, things like that. Make sense?
That makes perfect sense.
Think about like unsaturated fats, like the oils being like, woo, like clean and easy and moving and free flowing. These trans fats or these saturated fats are stickier.
I would think edgier. The trans fats would be like, woo! You know what I mean? Then have a parade, but I don't know. What do I know?
Sharon,
yeah, what
great.
Do I know? But what's interesting is, because you said when we explain things, we try to keep them positive.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest with you, that didn't really hit home until you told me what the negative part about it was. The day I stopped eating McDonald's was when that social media video came out when the guy had the burger and he put it in a glass thing, and that burger did not change over.
So now it makes sense, right?
Right, but he kind of had to point out the negative.
And it's okay. We can get into that, and we have to explain it. Like we have to explain free radicals, or we have to explain saturated fat or trans fats. Like, but again, it's into the education that you can do something about it.
Boom, that's the key.
People need to understand they can make a choice.
So, okay. You're touching on so many, and I'm trying to stay on the thing. And this might lean into his argument where he feels you don't have a choice. What do you say about, and I know it can get pretty deep, and we may run out of time, but the whole systemic part of it all, where eating healthy is freaking expensive.
So my very, very first job out of college was Cornell Cooperative Extension.
Okay.
My very first job was working with people that have a very, very low income that qualify for these programs.
Right.
Okay, so they had to qualify. I was actually very upset that we weren't able to just to educate the public. But it was very targeted because grant funding only goes to this population. So that's another one of my things. Why didn't we make it available for everybody?
Right.
Even if it's like this group, we could just be like, everyone's welcome. So anyway, this is my whole thing. We did lesson after lesson after lesson on how to eat on this budget, on that budget, on that budget. So the thing is, a bag of broccoli, frozen broccoli, 99 cents.
Okay, but I gotta ask: is frozen broccoli good for you?
Yes. Yeah. I'm so glad. This is a great. Okay. So frozen vegetables and frozen fruits are picked at peak perfection, nutrients
frozen.
locked inside. No additives, preservatives, nothing. They are just as good as fresh.
So so now we're going to go back to the whole oil thing.
Education.
Like why is the whole thing of fresh over frozen?
Education. Someone said it's not as good. Oh, you lose nutrients. Like,
Right. That's
what?
I always
Who was
got
that
that.
person?
Mr. Flugers. I don't know.
So this is my whole thing. Don't be the person standing in the back of the room just shouting out biochemistry. I want you to truly understand education and know, and that's my job as a dietitian, right? So to take all of this stuff that you've heard out there and to truly bring it forward. Because honestly, I don't even care if you have canned fruits and vegetables. It's still going to get you those antioxidants. It's still going to help you with that.
Okay, sorry. Now on the canned stuff.
On the can, I can get into this. Are you ready?
Yeah, because I'm like, because you got to balance that out.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So they used to think that you'd have to add sodium to preserve that food.
Right.
They realized it's not the sodium, it's actually the heat that preserves it. So now they can make all of the canned items that don't have added sodium. So for instance, you could have a can of tomatoes that has, it's like in a half cup. The regular one, 380 milligrams of sodium. In the no sodium added, 5 milligrams of sodium.
Oh, wow.
Plus, with that heating source, you actually can release more of the lycopene because when you heat tomatoes slightly, you release more
I don't know.
lycopene.
Lycopene. There it is.
So
as long as
this
they
is
keep it
where,
below the
so do you,
smoke level.
Oh yeah,
Something like that.
But this is where see how like that canned item now has just moved all the way up. And if you have regular cans, if you rinse them under running water, you rinse off 40% of the sodium.
So have the shelf life though, does that remain the same or is it lessened?
The can is going to last a lot longer. It's really inexpensive. We have in our house right now, I could open my pantry. We have canned tomatoes. We have canned beans. We have a whole bunch of canned items.
And you are saying, you Kelly are saying
Yes.
that the canned tomato, when done properly without the sodium stuff,
Mix it together. The canned tomatoes, the
when
beans,
you're saying
you
the
got a
canned
meal.
tomato and the fresh tomato, you're literally tomato. That was unintentional, but that was slick.
That was really
Yeah,
good.
that was good.
But this is where it's still better nutrition. And this is where when people say it's too expensive to eat healthy.
Okay.
Now, is heirloom tomato that's grown in organic soil?
No, but to the point. I'm
Okay.
glad you said that because I always say a phrase of mine is words matter. And so you have bad nutrition, you have better nutrition, and then you have optimum nutrition.
Exactly.
So you're clearly saying no, it's better nutrition, not
Right.
necessarily it's the optimal.
And so I think we go again back to that good bad situation. Cans are bad. What? It's so much better to have a can of tomatoes than it would be a bag of Doritos. So this is where, again, choices. And they are the same exact cost.
Now, I don't know
Actually,
if
the
this-
Doritos are probably more expensive.
I don't know if this part's in your wheelhouse, but speaking of cans, though, what about chemicals from the can?
Again, you get back to that. But think about the chemicals in the Doritos. And people are going, oh, well, it's not organic. Oh, you have metals. Oh, you have whatever.
Right.
Still better.
Than the Doritos, right?
It's a real food.
Right. Better than cocaine. Don't you think? Yeah. Okay. I think we got the point on that one.
We sealed that one. But yeah, but that's where I think, again, back to that education, how can we make it easy for people? So we're writing a book right now, and I actually am enlisting these awesome interns from Cornell, and I said, I need recipes that go along with these chapters.
Okay.
And I said, I want you guys to think about 3 different types of people. Someone who has never cooked in their life, someone who likes to cook but doesn't know how to put this together, and that person who's like the foodie and like loves everything. We're going to come up with 3 different ways to bring that lesson of grains or protein or whatever in a way that one is going to have 5 or less ingredients.
Okay.
One is going to be a little bit more extensive, and the other one's going to be super foodie. So do you see how we can reach a huge audience with this?
Right.
And
sure.
really educate on, yes, you can do this on a budget for sure. And I think we might even put the food cost in there so they can see how much this is. I mean, it's hard because if you're writing a book, it can't be really evergreen, right?
Right,
Because
right.
food
Things
costs.
change.
But to really show how you can put together this meal so simplistically without just getting a granola bar.
Okay.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair.
So this is where getting back to that real food message, and that was our tagline forever since the start of this, is real people promoting real food.
So that brings me to the whole, really you can just give me your take on it. Now, if you have something to break it down with, by all means. Vegan versus vegetarian versus meat.
Okay, so
Because everyone's
if you
shouting the
go
vegan thing.
if you go right now to mygov.org, I think it is, right? So that's our government site. And we talked about, is the government doing this? Da, 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 da. However, that is the first usable diagram that I have seen because it shows that 75% of the plate should be coming from plants. 75%.
The government's website.
The government's website.
All right, Uncle Sam.
See? It's not so bad.
Uncle Sam
However,
Jenkins.
it's education. So when I say that those are plants, people are not seeing it that way. So they see vegetables, fruits, and grains. They're all plants.
Right. They're all plants.
But it doesn't say plants
Right.
all over it. And so I think this is where
So if you
people...
think plant, you think vegan.
Exactly.
Or vegetarian.
And so that's where the message has shifted too far. There's still the protein section, and actually there's dairy, which I do think it's paid for by American Dairy. I'm not, whatever.
Hey, don't, just say
Whatever.
it. Just say it.
Whatever.
You are protected here at Life.
Whatever. But I'm not necessarily against dairy either, and that's something that's been demonized in our population. Dairy is a complete protein. It has tons of vitamins and minerals. Now, again, we have to look at the saturated fat level and how much we're getting, but it's a really, really small amount, so I'm okay with it. Like, I'm actually fine. But this is where people go too far. So 75% of the plate should be coming from plants.
Okay.
We're all plant forward. There's not a dietitian out there. Well, hopefully they're not a dietitian, but no one is saying
Cut out the plants. Well, the carnivores.
But they're not dietitians,
This is true.
right?
Touché.
So because we're based in science.
Touche.
So this is where we know we need to have 75% of the plate coming from plants. But that's when we get into the animal products. And so when we talk about animal products, we need to understand, again, going back to that biochemistry, going back to what that food is offering our bodies. So that getting that complete amino acids means that your body is taking all 9 of these building blocks of protein and utilizing them in the cells. Now, I'm going to give you a really good picture.
Okay.
So my physiologist brought this down, Dr. Voss. I'll give her a shout out. She's
All right.
amazing. So what she said was, protein comes into the body.
Okay.
It can't be stored as protein. It goes into this amino acid pool.
Okay.
So when we eat protein, it gets broken down into this. Then picture yourself at a water park, okay? All the slides are going off in all different directions. These amino acids are pulled down all different water slides to work to build blood, to go into DNA, to go for your hair and skin and nails. And all these little amino acids get pulled into all these different directions.
And they're all coming from protein.
They're all coming from protein. So if you don't have a complete amino acid profile, having all 9, one of your water slides might not be working properly. And then if you don't have protein evenly throughout the day, your pool might go dry.
Ooh.
Isn't that a really good visual?
That's a great visual. Especially if you know where the water slides are going to.
Yeah, exactly.
Explains a lot.
But this is where we don't have optimal health if we don't understand where do we get those amino acids.
That's a great picture.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you can live healthfully as a vegan. Rip Epstein, I read his book. Who knows if he'd ever listen to this podcast? I hope he does, because he's done it right.
Okay.
If you're going to live Rip Epstein's life, if you're going to dedicate it to making sure you have all the right B vitamins and iron and calcium, and if you're going to dedicate your life to this, then you can be a very healthful vegan.
Okay.
But the majority of Americans don't know what they're doing, and
Right.
they're getting very sick.
And I like what you said is living a vegan lifestyle can be healthy.
It can.
But you don't have to live a vegan lifestyle
No.
style to be healthy.
No.
I went to California.
That says it all.
It really does for Christmas with my in-law side of the family. And so my precious niece, her husband and my sister-in-law over there, they kind of moved to the vegan thing.
Yeah.
I'm not a vegan, right? But I go with the crowd, because what I can't stand is when we're all out to eat and you got that one vegan in the group. It just messes everything up, So I don't want to be the one guy in the group who's like, no. So I order my stuff. One, I'm not vegan, and then it was a Mexican place, not necessarily my top. So I'm just stuck. I'm like, wow, two of the things that I probably picked the last. This is where we're eating. It was horrible, but anyway, I found a way to get some meat in somewhere.
But this is where I love, like last night we went out to eat, and I was able to say to the person that was doing the ordering, he's an amazing French chef, and I said, order anything. I just want to experience and I love that I'm able to, because I don't have any food aversions and I don't have any food allergies.
Right.
So I know some people do have food allergies and that is a thing, or food aversions. And I feel very fortunate for that I get to enjoy all cuisines, all food, and truly take that in. And I think a lot of this has turned into disordered eating. I think that it has become so restrictive and in this way that it's turning into a problem.
Right.
So we usually do see that this is the first step towards an eating disorder.
Gotcha.
I've seen it time and time again. So I look to see, why are you going vegan? Because if you truly don't want to eat animals and this is your thing, we will work with you.
Right.
We 100% will make sure we educate you, get you your right amino acid profile, your B vitamins, maybe put you on supplements. We'll work with you to make sure the optimal health. But I can usually trigger and see, when is this being restrictive? What are you using this for?
A lot of times when people go vegan, they are missing out on a lot of those things. But Kelly's Choice has these things, protocols and things set up to help you guide through it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So we meet people wherever they are. So if you come in as the meat eater dude, all I have is 60 grams of protein.
I don't know what it is, as long as it tastes good.
So what we do is go, okay, no, that's awesome. You're doing some good things, but let's start adding in some vegetables, or let's start or I don't eat vegetables. Okay, so how are we going to get fiber in there? So again, it's let's take you where you are. No food shaming, no shaming of people, whatever. Trying to really work with them to make sure they're getting optimal health.
So, all right. So next question, because it sounds like your program is obviously highly educational and you go beyond the surface stuff. So I call these the big three, and I'm on a little kind of a personal platform in the music industry, because rarely do you find anyone in music who can do all three of these. And it's true in life, but especially in music. Because one main thing, especially as a creative in music, we're night owls, right? So there goes the sleep, right? So the big three, diet. And when I say diet, I mean
food.
Eating habits is really what I'm saying, not necessarily weight loss.
Right.
So diet, sleep, and exercise, all right? I do know a lot of people in music, they definitely get their exercise in. But the other two, they're always sacrificed. So one, do you feel that you can kind of conquer this whole aging backwards thing with those big three right there? Do you feel that that's the foundation of it all? And then if so, how does each one of those work? Can you break those down? How is it that how is it that sleep is beneficial? Obviously the diet part, you spend a lot of time on that. And then the exercise, how does the exercise work in conjunction with diet?
Right. So it is a really interesting thing of how it all. So again, I have my master's in health ed, so I believe in all the spokes of wellness. Awesome. I just know that nutrition's the basis of all of it.
Right.
So,
but can we not gloss over that? Because I think that's great.
Yeah.
Because you're not just a person who knows about food offering this program. You know the entire ecosystem.
Yes.
That's great.
Because what you eat affects your sleep, and what you eat affects your ability to exercise. So see how it all goes back to food?
To food.
But the sleep, getting into these, like breaking them down a little bit further, I always tell people for the sleep aspect, think about your cell phone. You charge it at night. If it doesn't charge completely, you're kind of screwed the next day, right?
I love that.
You dies during the day.
That.
You're always trying to find the charger cord. You're always trying to get just 5 minutes more, right? And that's how it works with your body. So if you don't get proper night's sleep, you're trying to find it through caffeine. You're trying to find it through simple carbohydrates. You're trying to find how am I going to get that energy, and you're going to make poor food choices. And it's not because you have a low willpower. People come like, oh, I have a sweet tooth. Like, it's not that. It's actually a physiological thing that's happening in your body to get energy to the cells because you didn't get enough of that rest to reboot.
Right.
Okay, so that's the sleep side. So sleep really is important.
Right.
And then it goes on the exercise piece. So the exercise piece, again, it helps with everything. So when you exercise, it actually helps your liver to create more of these good cholesterols, they're called, but they're not really cholesterols. Again, back to Dr. Voss. They're like boats, okay? So when you exercise, your body makes more of these HDL boats. What does this mean? It means the little boats go to the little ports all over your body and pick up cholesterol and recycle it back to the liver.
Wow. So we have boats and water slides in our body.
I know.
We have fun bodies. I love it.
And nutrition is fun, right?
Yeah.
It is fun when you bring it to
when you understand it.
Yes.
When you understand it, yeah.
So when you exercise, you create more of this HDL, basically these carriers that go through our bodies and pick up all the debris and recycle it back. Okay. So we create more of those when we exercise. Plus, isn't that neat?
Yeah, it's very
Did you know
neat.
that?
No, that part. I've been studying on that, on especially exercise a lot. I never knew that one.
So then getting back to our protein message of why I am, pro animal is that when we exercise and break down muscle, like if we actually are weight lifting, that separates the muscle and proteins needed to go in and fill it in.
Right.
So without exercise, without breaking that muscle, then you don't have the ability to really protect your bones, protect your so we need that muscle to stay in good shape.
Now, is all protein created equal? Because you'll get your vegans that say, well, you can get that same protein from the plant. What would you say to that?
So there is a difference in different types of proteins and different types of irons. And so the animal-based protein is more readily available in the body.
Okay. Gotcha.
So you are able to use it more efficiently, more effectively, and plus it has everything coming with it too, the B vitamins, the iron, and everything else.
Right. And then this still goes back to the source, depending on how the animal was treated.
Exactly.
Right.
So again, we're really lucky. I live in central New York. We have, our beef farms, we have bison farms, we have great vegetables. Like we're really fortunate where we live. I have fresh eggs delivered to my door every Sunday. I mean, that's ridiculous, right? But it's
it's very Mayberry, but that's okay. But it's good though. It's good. We'll find that in Trenton. Trenton, New Jersey. Shout out to Trenton.
Yeah, but that's where it is different. And so when we talk about food deserts or things like that, that may be more difficult. So I don't like to talk about that as much because then we do have and have nots. Right. So, that's why I hate getting into the organic talk. I hate getting into I have, my cow Sally down the street. I just, because we do live in different places. Some people are in the city, some people are in the country. What is your availability to get that item? So, but going back to the exercise piece, so we now have the boats that are going. We have the muscle building, which is really fantastic. And then we are in a country that has an overabundance of calories.
Got that right.
And so I love in Europe that the calorie is called a unit of energy.
No way. Right? that changes your mindset right there. It
does change your mindset. So if we only need this much amount of energy to sustain our bodies, but if we're intaking more than we need, we do need to do something to keep that in check.
Well, then you'll have the one person, though, who's like, I need this chocolate. I need more energy today.
Because I didn't sleep.
Hey, Strange. I love it.
But that's where we are over consuming and under moving. And so if we can truly get that and think about a unit of energy, and you do need energy to perform that exercise.
When I was in South Africa, I lie to you not, I had the best eggs I ever had in my life over there.
Fresh.
I mean, fresh. The chickens literally just went from the yard to the
That's the
chopping
thing.
block to the, you know what I mean? Well, that was chicken, but the eggs. Either way,
eggs,
yeah.
the
There
bright
wasn't a
yellow-
whole lot of stuff where killing them was concerned and with how they were raised. It was just the chicken. That's it. And you literally tasted it in the
Difference.
food, in the cheese, and
Yes.
all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
it's a complete difference, and like that's where the think about all of it. Like the chicken getting sunlight produces more vitamin D in the yolk, which gives you more nutrients when you eat it.
Yeah.
So there really is this cycle of life, and there's a lot of Netflix series out there and all of that of how we're getting back to regenerative farming, how we're getting
Right.
back to that, and that's basically what you were at. So I've been able to tour farms, go there, see how this is done, and it's really getting back to like where we were. We just
Right.
got so far away from it.
What do they call it? Farm to table. Essentially, that's what it needs to get back to.
It
Farm to-
does.
Like I had fish in Iceland, and I actually got sick because the taste was so different. I was just like, "Oh, what's wrong with this fish?" And the guy was like, "There's nothing wrong with this flag, whatever the accent they had over there." But this is what fish is supposed. And he told me, he's like, "This is what fish is supposed to be." He was like, "You guys do all kinds of stuff to your food," and I was like,
Weird farming practices. And we do have a lot of people to feed. We have a giant country.
Yeah,
And you don't realize how giant it is until you travel. And you're like, holy
crap.
this,
Right.
like we're huge. We're
Right.
huge and we're feeding all of these people, right? And so how are we I don't know the answer to that. That's the one I don't
I
have
get
an
it.
answer to. But if we can, start to make some changes in that direction. I know I was just talking to a lady who said she's going to do an entire television series of just doing a small garden, doing herbs and spices, starting that way,
Right.
growing some things. That would help, right? Like just anything that we can do in this way. So I don't know all the answers. All I'm trying to do is just educate so
Absolutely.
that people have the knowledge to make better decisions.
All right. I'm going to ask you one more
Yeah.
question. All right. With me in life, I always try to find the root. Okay. So I have a whole thing with like when I'm disagreeing with someone, I listen to understand before I try to be understood. Right. Find the root of anything. In some reading that I've done, it seems like all the branches, whatever, seem to come down to one thing, and that's inflammation. Right. Chronic inflammation, to be specific, because we're not talking about, you stubbed your toe inflammation, right? Do you agree or disagree? Do you feel that's the root of majority or all of sicknesses? I mean, we're talking cancer and MS, and what are your thoughts on inflammation or chronic inflammation?
I was really fortunate. I got to take a class with this professor. Her name is Dr. Raj.
Okay.
And it was a amazing diet and nutrition class. And the very first day, so this was 10 years ago, the very first day, in big letters on the board, it says inflammation equals disease.
Boom. Wow.
But at the time, I didn't really understand what it meant. I didn't really understand inflammation. It wasn't really talked about 10 years ago. I didn't understand until recently of working with Dr. Vaz and understanding where inflammation actually comes from.
I was just going to ask. Can you break that down?
Okay, so let's break it down because we're now working with companies. I'll give a shout out to EO3. We're working with them right now, and it's a omega-3 company.
Right.
And so this is where they're like, how I got the job to work with them. They said, "Do you know about inflammation?" I go, "I do." Actually,
Dr.
Rose. So basically, this is going to kind of blow your mind. And they talk about, remember today they talked about sugar, right? That we are 60 million pounds of sugar, something like that.
Right.
So what's going on in our bodies right now is that we're taking in so many of these simple sugars, so many through breakfast cereals, breads, whatever.
Are simple sugars the same as processed sugars?
Well, any carbohydrate that doesn't contain fiber. Let's separate it that way.
Okay.
So this is a carbohydrate that does not contain fiber. Okay. So this can come from anything that you see from added sugars or salad dressings, pasta sauces. These do not contain fiber. So they're just sugar being added, or they're been stripped the fiber out.
Right.
Okay. So that's the difference. So I'm glad you asked that question. Okay. So when we have those types of sugars coming into the body, they are truly like shards of glass. And when they're going through the body and through the blood system, they are nicking, cutting where they go.
Wow.
So because of that, the body reacts. The liver reacts. The liver makes cholesterol.
And this is literal.
literal.
Wow.
They've shown full progression of how this happens. So cutting and nicking, that's why when someone has type 2 diabetes, high sugar levels, you can lose eyesight. It destroys those blood vessels. You can have kidney disease. It destroys those
it's
little blood
cutting
vessels.
them. It's like,
shredding
wow.
them. That's why they lose toes and limbs.
Wow, yeah.
It's shredding the blood vessels.
My brother passed from that, unfortunately.
But that's
Yeah.
what this is. And so once you can, again, visualize this and you can see it, you understand why those blood vessels are being, like, why do you get kidney disease from diabetes?
Right.
That sugar amount is truly causing this to happen.
Right.
Then what's happening, it's a trifecta. Then we're storing that extra carbohydrate in the liver, fatty liver disease, as glycogen. Then the liver is producing more cholesterol, those LDL boats to pick up and drop off cholesterol at those port sites. Remember, HDL is going to pick it up.
Right.
But the LDL boats it's making it in the liver and it's dropping it off.
Right.
And dropping it off.
So
Because-
basically, HDL is the grandma that just swept the porch.
Yes.
The LDL just came in with a whole bunch of dirt and was like, yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And so the inflammation caused by the sugar, now we have the cholesterol being made and dropped off. That's trying to prevent inflammation. So when people say that cholesterol is bad, I'm like, no, cholesterol, remember the root.
Right.
Why is the cholesterol being made?
Right.
Is because all this inflammation's happening and it's trying to heal the body. It's trying to rectify itself.
Jeez.
So then we have diabetes, then we have heart disease, then we have obesity, then we have fatty liver disease. Do you see, like, so when they say inflammation is the cause of all disease, yes.
So real quick, what are some quick ways or quick things we can do to fight inflammation?
Okay. Number one, fiber. Okay. So what is fiber?
We all know what fiber does.
Well, it's funny. Everyone knows what fiber does. But when I ask a huge audience at a work site, what foods contain fiber, the room goes quiet.
Right.
So they all know fiber makes you poop, right?
Yep.
Where do we get fiber? Remember back, 75% of your plate coming from plants?
Plants.
Those are all fiber sources. That's why 75% of that plate.
There's a reason why they said beans good for your heart.
That's right.
The more you eat them.
Beans, legumes are one of the highest fiber sources because
Right.
when you eat that fiber, it kind of acts like, again, sweeping the grandmother situation.
Yeah.
It's kind of roughing up the sides and cleaning things up. Plus, it goes down to the digestive tract. That's what the bacteria eat. And then it creates this thing called butyrate. That's where you store, I mean, we could get really into it.
I'm
But
just impressed you're remembering all these words.
all of this, that fiber, just know that
Right,
fiber is cleaning things up. That's
Fiber's
all you
your
need to
friend.
know. Fiber's your friend. So I call it's my favorite F word.
Oh, fiber. Fiber you, man. Fiber you. I was not using that. That is awesome.
If you can get more fiber sources in, that is going to help clean things up.
Okay.
It'll keep you full. It'll give you energy. And you'll also be getting the nutrients and vitamins because fiber sources have also nutrients and vitamins that come
Nice.
along with it, right? The other thing is you mentioned water.
Yeah.
Water is a big key.
Yeah.
We need it for every cell in our body. In our digestive tract, our gut bacteria need it to move around, and they need it for their cell energy and everything too. So we have to make sure we're getting enough water. Especially if you have more fiber-rich sources, you need more water content.
Yeah.
So the two go hand in hand. And then
Right.
lastly, the protein source really is important.
Right.
Trying to get about 15 to 20 grams of protein per meal, making it high-quality protein like eggs, again, like low-fat dairy is fine, bean sources, soy products that are, organic. Those would be the best ways. So if you take one thing from this, fiber.
Fiber. Fiber's our
If
friend.
I could get more people to eat fiber, we would have less inflammation and we would have less chronic disease.
Kelly Fiber Springer, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so where can people find you?
kellyschoice.org and also Instagram at kellys_nutrition.
Got you.
So Instagram is where we're posting a whole bunch of things. We're doing giveaways. It's really fun because the media side, we get to work with all these different food companies. I'm the New York State Apple spokesperson.
Nice.
I get to do all this really fun stuff on the media side. So follow us on social media. But really and truly, my goal, this is a lofty goal, I want to get in 100 new work sites in the next 3 months.
Love it.
So I hope that anyone that has employees reaches out to me. It's affordable. It will make a difference in your company.
Right. Less sick days.
less sick days,
Higher
less
productivity.
absenteeism. You're going to be having happier employees, and it's really, truly legit. Like, I'm not just blowing
Right.
smoke.
No, I
Like, it's
believe
for
you.
real. So that's my goal, is to get into 100 new companies in the next 3 months.
Kelly Springer, Kelly's Choice. Thank you so much for coming.
You're
I want to do the whole
welcome.
handshake thing, but that's give me a hug. All right, thank you so much. Hey, you guys know where to find us. Life on Podcast. That's the base for everything. YouTube, all the platforms. If you're interested or bored and just have nothing else to do with your life and want to know a little bit about me, I am at stonestafford.com. And don't ever forget about my partner, my co-host who's in Vegas right now. That is just Johnny Vaughn, JUSTJONYVAN. Everywhere. We love you guys. We're going to see y'all next week. Thanks for your support. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you.
We're out. Bye.
So back to what I was saying. What I was saying.